Staging now for the introduction of the athletes competing in the men's 10-kilometer open water competition. Introduction by race number. First up, wearing number 1 and representing Australia, Ewan Whitey. Number 2 from Australia, Nicholas Sloman. Wearing number 5 and representing Brazil, Mateus Malecki. Number 6 from Brazil, Victor Moreno. Wearing number 7 and representing Canada, Colton Chairs. Number 8 from Canada, Sebastian Paulins. Wearing number 9 and representing Germany, Florian Velbrock. Number 10 representing Italy, Pasquale Angelo Giordano. Wearing 11, representing Japan, Riku Izawa. Number 12 from Japan, Taishin Minamide. 13, representing Japan, Kaito Tabuchi. And wearing number 14, representing Japan, Kaito Sujinori. Representing Mexico, wearing number 15, Diego Obele Cisneros. Number 16 from Mexico, Paulo Strelke Delgado. Number 17, representing Mexico, Roberto Valdez Ochoa. Wearing number 18 and representing South Africa, Connor Albertine. Number 19 from South Africa, Byron Kimber. Number 20, South Africa, Henry Lowe. And representing South Africa, wearing number 21, Sven van der Linde. Representing the United States of America, wearing 22, Joshua Brown. Representing USA, wearing 23, Dylan Gravely. Wearing 24 and representing USA, Ivan Poskovich. Also representing the United States of America, wearing 25, Joey Tepper. Number 26, representing Italy, Dario Verani. And number 27, representing Bolivia, Percy Escobar Copa. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the competitors in the 2026 Pan-Pacific Swimming Championships in the men's 10K.
Looks to be a clean start. 25 competitors here in the men's open water contest, and I think the real question will be, can anyone keep pace this morning with Florian Velbrock of Germany, coming off a European Championship title in the 10K in the River Sten? That was just days ago. Velbrock returning to the racing here in Southern California.
You were singing? No. My husband's a big toe.
Big toe guy?
Some of the lead candidates to keep pace here with Velbrock could be Sloman of Australia. He's wearing number 2, a returning competitor from the previous Pan Pac Open Water Championships in 2018, where Sloman was a 4th place finisher. Also number 12, Minamide, a 2-time Olympian out of Japan, 2 top 15 finishes at the Olympic Games. All right, so athletes now working their way through lap number 1 out of 6 on this course, which is 1.6K to be contested. Just the 100 meters straightaway between turn 1 and turn 2. Looks like they're getting through that. And together with me out here on the boat, we have one of the open water representatives from USA Swimming, Coach Bryce Elsner. And Bryce, if you can give us an update on who's out there and who has taken the early lead, I'm assuming that's Mr. Velbrock.
just making their way coming back down the course, being led by Ada.
No, Dylan got very on the start. But he always starts
out right now. It's pretty typical as athletes are trying to pace themselves as they're going through. Some athletes will want to go and pace themselves and really conserve their energy coming off the start, while others really want to make sure they're getting into the right position and making sure they get that clean water in front of them. They're just making their way through about 500 meters until they're making their next swing coming down on the other side of the course.
Jeff, I think we should be able to. Look how much space we have. I think so too. I would agree with that.
All right, so hanging with Velbrock early on. Tabuchi of Japan wearing number 13.
Today we've got ourselves a six-loop course composing 1,666 meters per lap, making themselves in a clockwise direction. This is the Pan Pacific Championship for the Pan Pacific group is U.S., Canada, Australia, and Japan. But this year is invited just for guests, but we have guests from South Africa, in addition to some of our European friends as well. We do have some of the best athletes in the world here. A couple notable athletes that you'll be seeing today. Number one would be Florian Waldrock, Olympic gold medalist in both the pool and open water in Tokyo. Hold 10 plus open water world championship medals. And recently had some mixed results on the World Cup circuit. Has had a win in the Egypt World Cup earlier this year, and is recently coming off of a championship win at the European Championships that took place in Paris. He's currently ranked number 9 in the world, but has been as high as number 1. We also have Pasquale Guardano from Italy, ranked 20th in the world, recent top 10 finish in the Ibiza World Cup. And then we have Nick Sloman from Australia, who has 2 top 20 finishes in the World Cup circuit this year. He's also a pretty quick pool swimmer as well. He's sub 15 minutes in the pool mile, sub 8 minutes in the pool 800. So pretty quick pool swimmer, so somebody to keep an eye out for from Italy there. And then we have Ewan Liney from Australia as well, who had an impressive 11th place finish at the World Cup in Golfo Ranchi earlier this year as well. From Brazil, we have Mateus Maleki, who had 2 top 20 finishes in the World Cup this year, and then Victor Moreno, also from Brazil, who had 2 top 10 finishes and 1 top 20 finish in the last 3 World Cups. We also cannot forget about the American contingent that we have here, led by Dylan Gravely, who's ranked 11th in the World Cup, or in the world rankings as of now. He has 1 top 10 finish and 2 top 20 finish in this year's circuit. Dylan has taken a different path this year, and he recently changed up his training environment. Spent a little bit of time in Italy training with the Italian national team. Got a lot of experience in parking himself in Italy and learning from the Europeans as much as he could this year. And he took the advantage of having kind of an off year in the Olympic cycle to take advantage of training out in Europe. We also have Ivan Pupkovic, who's ranked 16th in the world. He's a U.S. Olympian from Paris. He's coming off a top 20 result at a World Cup this year as well. We have Joey Tepper, who also has a top 20 finish, and is also recently finding some success in the pool as well. And then we have Josh Brown, who's now been on the U.S. national team program for 4 years and is really ready to make his mark and really chip away and coming through the ranks right now. the lead here, followed by Ivan Puskovich making his first moving turn. Both Wellbrock and Puskovich making it through that turn without any issues. A lot of the swimmers really want to get to these turns and really not get jammed up, really avoid the physicality, and Florian Wellbrock did that just perfectly. About 100 meters in between these two buoy turns, so it's really back-to-back turns, so you really want to get through that first turn and then get through the second turn and stay as much as possible, really trying to conserve that stroke and kind of take the stroke out of the physicality that's there. Okay, rounding this last turn of lap number one, still Florian Wellbrock leading, followed by Ivan Puskovich. Florian Wellbrock not sighting much, really only lifting his head every 12 cycles or so, really keeping that stroke nice and long. Florian's really well known for his kind of low stroke rate, really conserving his stroke as much as possible throughout the race, and really swims nice and easy. Florian's now taking kind of more of an inside line. They're approaching the feed pontoon, which is on the kind of the outside actually of the course. So Florian's taking that more outside approach. Kind of an indication that he's probably going to come in and look for the feed station, which is really located right by that start finish area that the athletes have. So Florian's looking like he's sighting right now, looking at the feed pontoon, and that's really where these athletes want to line up for their feed. They're not coming in to look at the feed 100 meters out. They're really lining themselves off, coming right off of that first buoy turn, make sure they have the initial line that takes it in. So that way they don't have to veer and deviate too much from the first line. That's much important.
All right, looks like as our first lap is working through the second half of this field and approaching now their first opportunity to hit the feed station here where they started. Starting to see a split here. Maybe some athletes are going to break away and make a line to the feed station, and others perhaps will be waiting until lap 2 to feed. But it looks like Wellbrock staying on the interior, and maybe we could hear from Coach Bryce on what's going on towards the inside track of these competitors.
About 200 meters from the feed station, looking at the top 5, we have Florian Wellbrock in first, Ivan Puskovich second, followed Delgado from Mexico second, we have Ewan Riney from Australia in fourth, and then Nick Sloman is right in fifth place. They're all looking like they're coming in for the feed.
All right, great. Thank you, Bryce. For those of you not on the live feed here in person, the update there is we do see Ivan Puskovich of Team USA up together with Wellbrock, your leader. Then it's Delgado of Mexico, number 16, holding third ahead of the pair of Australian athletes. Liney wearing number 1 in fourth, and Sloman wearing number 2, currently in fifth position.
50 meters from the feed station. There's a lot of strategy that goes into the feed. Athletes generally want to feed early as they need that sustenance to kind of get them through this long 2-hour race that they're competing in. So a lot of what they're trying to do is get these feeds. It takes like about 18 minutes per lap, making sure they get their feed in early. So that way when they get to the second half of the race, really in the final stretch, they don't have to worry about feeding them. They have the energy, they have the sustenance, they have the fuel they need to finish. Coming in, looking at them battling for feed station or for their pontoon and grabbing it. Really want to stay swimming while they take their feed. They don't want to come to the top. They just want to come to the top. They're trying to keep them from trampling down. Reach your hand out. Stay on your back. Take as much as you can. And keep going. Get back on the line.
Looked like a clean exchange there. Athletes getting through, getting their feeding stick from their coaches. All those spots mapped out in advance with designated positions. As here we go on to lap number 2 of 6. All right, lap number 2, working their way through 733 meters on the straightaway here beside the shore as they are gearing up for turn number 1 of lap 2 and trying to keep an eye on who's who here. Wellbrook with that very smooth stroke. Looks like he is hanging close to the shore and looking pretty comfortable there out in front. And Bryce, is that still Ivan Puskovich pushing out on the lead spot?
All right, coming into the first turn on lap number 2, Paulo Delgado now taking over for Wellbrook. Coming into this first buoy turn for him, really kind of just shut it down a little bit, relaxing the stroke. Potentially just going to let Paulo take the lead a little bit. Both get through this turn pretty nicely. Followed by Ewan Liney, and then Nick Sloman, and then Ivan Puskovich round off the top 5. Again, 100 meters between these tight turn buoys. The goal really is to maintain your position, keep yourself in a good spot so that way you can come through this turn nice and smoothly and set yourself up for these straightaway stretches where you can really kind of capitalize on making some movement, taking some different lines from the rest of the group, and pulling ahead.
So Paulo Strelka Delgado, wearing number 16 now, leading this race as they approach turn 2 on lap 2. Delgado comes in ranked number 68 in the world standings. Most recently competing at the World Cup stop.
Neck and neck between Delgado and Weldrock coming through. Delgado more on the inside of the course, Weldrock taking kind of an outside path. Delgado pulling along, Sutkovic and Liney, while Sloman is decided to sit right behind Corey Weldrock. On this long straightaway finish, or stretch, about 733 meters down this stretch, so the longest stretch they have. A lot of opportunities for some movement, different lines. They have navigational buoys set up every 100, 150 meters or so to help navigate them. Not mandatory to pass these buoys. The only mandatory buoys are the 4-turn buoys, so they can go on either side of these buoys. And I'd say the group as a whole, thinking together, but also staying pretty far outside right now. Nobody's taking an inside line, moving through this course. Water temperature today is right around mid-70s, which is perfect and ideal racing temperature for these athletes as they're going through a 2-hour race. Some like to have it a little bit warmer, but I would say right in the mid-70s is perfect. You're not getting overheated. It doesn't really mess with your strategy too much. It's very similar to the 80-degree pool that they're swimming in on a day-to-day basis. Bowie number 3 on lap number 2. Wellbrock still in the lead. Nick Sloman head-to-head with Moreno. Moreno just did a kind of a move over the legs of Sloman to kind of get that outside position going into the turn. Pretty smart on his part, because otherwise you would have gotten pinched in on the turn and really would have gotten set back. So nice movement there from Delgado on that, as they're trying to catch back up to Florian coming out of the turn. Pack on that lap, on that long straightaway, just really got a little bit more spread out than it has. Still pretty intact, though. Only 2 swimmers officially off the lead group. But starting to bring itself out as they're kind of working their way through this race. And you'll see a little bit more of that and kind of a little bit of after short dropping off one at a time, where little separations that take place going in and out of the race, and groups and forming as they kind of go through these turns. Different strategies take place. You can see athletes kind of almost be unaware that a split is happening and kind of get stuck behind a group and be unaware that a group's taken off, and sometimes they just get stuck behind and they got to kind of make a little extra effort to kind of make sure that they catch back up to the group and maintain contact with the group. That's really what the early portion of open water racing is, maintaining that contact with the lead group for as long as you can, making sure you don't lose contact, because that's one way that you can take yourself out of the race, or at minimum making it extra hard to kind of work your way through it. Coming off of Bowie, turn number 4 here, Florian came through that stretch, high tempo, really moving it through, and then made it through that turn and shut down his tempo, really relaxing the stroke now, not taking us outside of the line as he did in the past, which might be an indication he's going to skip the feed here. So there's really 5 opportunities to feed in the race. I'd say most athletes will feed somewhere between 2 and 4 times, with the average probably being about 3 feeds throughout an entire race. So we have Florian Wellbrock in first, Nick Sloman in second, Paul Delgado in third, and then we have a group of swimmers in a row of 3, and that's Ivan Puskovich, Victor Moreno, and Ewan Liney, who has lost his cap. He lost his cap pretty early on in the race. Pretty typical, too, especially with the physicality that goes with open water. Sometimes you start that race with the cap on, and sometimes you lose it. So Ewan lost his cap probably within the first couple hundred meters of this race, and he'll be swimming without a cap.
Nice overhead shot there of your leader, Florian Wellbrock of Germany, wearing number 9. Leading Sloman of Australia, then a trio of athletes behind them. So a good 10 athletes there in our lead pack as we complete lap number 2, and they get their chance now to hit up this feed station.
just approaching the end of lap 2. We have Florian Wellbrock kind of coming in and deciding to skip the feed here, staying on the inside of the course. Nick Sloman's right in between. Sometimes they do whatever the leader's going to do as they come into the feed, but we have Florian Wellbrock, Nick Sloman, Ivan Puskovich, Delgado, and Liney rounding out the top 5. Looking like they might skip the feed. Oh, on second thought, here comes Sloan coming in for a feed. Wellbrock staying out, going to continue to swim, taking Ivan Puskovich with him. Skipping the feed, potentially trying to catch up or make up some ground and put some separation for those that are coming in for their feed right here. But Florian Wellbrock doesn't look like he's going to make a move here, keeping a stroke rate nice and slow and steady while Floman's coming in. Only bringing one additional swimmer with him. That's Ewan Liney, his teammate. Coming in, grabbing their feed. Looks like they won't lose too much ground on it as Florian Wellbrock didn't put the pedal to the metal right there. He's just staying nice and steady and keeping it going.
So as we get to lap number 3 of 6, and Bryce, from a strategic sort of point of view, how important is a lap 3, and are these athletes going to be comfortable sort of hanging in their position, or would they be thinking about trying to make a move at this point?
Coming into buoy number 1 on lap number 3, still Florian Wellbrock leading, followed by Ivan Puskovich. Then we have Delgado right in about 3rd, followed by Moreno, Sloman, making their way through that first buoy turn. Really not too physical of a race here. Only 25 athletes entered in this race, so with that small field size, really doesn't have the physicality that you would have at a World Cup or World Championships for 75 people.
this is really where the strategy comes into play. The early portion of the race is a lot of conservation that takes place, making sure that you have that energy stored up so that way when you're going from that kind of, if you're putting it in terms of 100-meter pace in a pool, they're going from right around like a 110, 112 base pace all the way down into, in the final stretches of the race, sub 1 minute, and even sometimes 57 pace per 100 meters. So really picking it up, and you need to have that speed and that energy at the end of the race if you want to stay competitive. So this is the part of the race where really kind of digging down deep, really trying to stay as conservative as possible as the race starts picking up, avoiding the physicality as much as possible, and keeping your head down as much as possible as well, and really trying to not oversight. This is a fairly easy course to navigate your way through. Just 4 easy buoy turns, a lot of landmarks and easy navigational items that you can kind of pick from. So that way, if you don't want to sight off of the buoy, like as they're coming down the stretch here on lap number 3 on the far end of the course, they have that 733-meter stretch where they can't see necessarily the end buoy that they're trying to go to. So they can use a combination of the intermediate buoys along the way, or on this particular course at Long Beach Marine Stadium, they have a bridge all the way on the far end of the course, and they can use one of the bridge pylons to line themselves off of, or even one of the sailboat masts to go off of. It's a lot of easy, good visuals to use to navigate your way through this race. And when you have those easy visuals, you can really keep that head down. And by keeping your head down, you're maintaining that kind of more conservative pool stroke, because with the head down, your hips are staying on the surface of the water. While compared to if you're sighting all the time, your hips are going to drop and you kind of essentially swim uphill, which is not what you want to do in a race that lasts close to 2 hours. You really want to be as efficient and as smooth as possible, maintaining contact. There's been a little bit of a break of a group here from the lead group, so I would say about 5 swimmers or so, 5 or 6 swimmers have been dropped from this lead group. A good 10-meter gap in between that group, and then a long stretch of swimmers all the way leading up to Florian Wellbrock, who's swimming by himself, followed by a bunch of pairs of swimmers, so swimming side by side in rows of 2, going all the way back down to top 15 or so.
All right, fantastic update there from Bryce out on the boat with our lead group. Lap number 3 of 6 here, athletes on the straightaway.
Quick update on the top 8 or so swimmers coming through as they're midway down the far stretch here. We have Florian Wellbrock, Ivan Puskovich, Delgado, Malecki, Sloman, Brown, Liney, and Moreno in 8th place as they're kind of midway through the 3rd lap of this course.
First race of the day here, the men's 10K open water event. Athletes working on lap number 3, finishing up the 730-meter straightaway on the far side of the course. They are approaching turn number 3. Then they'll have a 100-meter stretch to get to turn number 4, as we again are on lap number 3 of 6 in this men's 10K. No surprise here, as the Tokyo Olympic gold medalist in this competition, Florian Veldbrock of Germany, has been our leader from the start. 10-time open water world champion. Veldbrock in control with Sloman of Australia, Puskovich of the United States, Liney of Australia, also Strelka Delgado of Mexico, all in the top 5.
Coming around buoy number 3, Wellbrock still maintaining the lead, keeping it nice and smooth. Again, same thing that he did on the last time around. Speeds up his stroke rate and tempo, even picks up his kick a little bit as he's going through, really just trying to make sure that in this 100-meter stretch in between buoy turns, he's not going to give up an inch on the group. But again, really picking up the tempo through these buoy turns, and then get through these buoy turns by a couple cycles, and then start shutting it back down and get back into the smooth movement and smooth stroke that he had such a good job of maintaining. Really kind of rides the front half of the stroke, keeps the shoulders and the hips really nice on the surface, and does a great job just really keeping that stroke nice and efficient. Doesn't have to sight much at all, really. Now rounding buoy number 4 coming in on his lap number 3. Bill Wellbrock, Delgado, and then Puskovich also staying in the top. That group of 3 really hasn't changed too much at all, really, since the beginning of the race. All 3 of those swimmers have stayed near the front. Alecki's now taking the number 4 spot, followed by Sloman in 5th spot. Moreno now in 6th, followed by Liney in 7th, and then Joey Peppers now moved himself up. We also have the Italian Giordano coming through. He's been hanging back for a good portion of this race, sitting back in the back of the pack, now kind of starting to inch his way up. Sort of to keep your eye on as he's kind of coming through the middle of this group, kind of really swimming up the gut here. And this might get a little physical as he kind of comes through. We haven't seen too much physicality in this race so far, so might see a little bit of something here as he kind of swims through. Some incidental contact is happening. Nothing egregious as he kind of tried to swim through and then got blocked there by the Brazilian as he was going through. Back up to the top of the group. Florian Wellbrock's looking like he's taking a line that he's going to come in and feed, really lining himself up to get that feed coming in to the halfway mark of this race. Followed by Puskovich and then Delgado.
All we hear there, number 10, Pasquale Giordano of Italy. He was wearing a black cap with a white lettering at the start of the competition. Been having a busy 2026 competing on the World Aquatics World Cup. Hitting all 4 stops in Egypt, Spain, Italy, and Portugal.
100 meters away from this feed station here. It looks like Wellbrock's still leading. He's going to take the group in with him on this feed. The last feed was just the Australians that came in the feed for that lap number 2, but lap number 3 looks like Florian Wellbrock's going to be coming in for this feed. This feed station's pretty close on the course line, so pretty advantageous to take that feed, especially early in the race, and take advantage of it. The feeds that they're using is kind of usually a mix between like a carbohydrate or like an energy drink and a power gel. Really looking for that kind of easy carbohydrate mixture that they can get into, help fuel their body, something that breaks down easy that they can use to fuel and get them through the second half of the race here. As they're coming in for this third feed, this might be the last feed for some of these swimmers here who will decide to just race the last half of the race. Others might come in maybe one more time. Just depends on the course conditions. Again, water temperature 75, so really don't need to worry about hydration too much in this race. So it's more about getting that carbohydrates and getting the fuel and energy that you need for this race. It's less about hydrating as they're kind of coming in. Florian Wellbrock swimming through, reaches through, grabs his feed, getting through. They're all floating on their back, keeping it moving as they go through the feed, take it down as quickly as possible, get back out, get back swimming as soon as they can, and moving through. Moving our way down on lap number 4. Puskovich taking over Wellbrock right here. Really making a move. Wellbrock slowing down, maintaining, if anything, his stroke rate. Puskovich keeping his head down, taking Wellbrock over, who's been leading for, I would say, 90% of this race. So Puskovich moving his way down to buoy number 1, about 200 meters away from that first buoy stretch, followed by Nick Sloman, who's in 3rd. Delgado in 4th. Malecki just behind.
Ivan Puskovich now taking over the lead. At the Open Water Nationals earlier this year, he was victorious for USA Swimming. 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 5 seconds ahead of Dylan Gravely, who was second. 3 seconds back. Then Joey Tepper was 18 seconds back of Gravely, and Joshua Brown 5th place overall, about 22 seconds behind Puskovich. This was the Open Water National results earlier this year in Florida. Puskovich trains locally with Team Santa Monica. Head coach Mo Kadambashi here named to represent USA Swimming on the Pan Pac Championship squad. They've been doing some ocean swimming, primarily pool training for Puskovich. He got a chance to do some altitude training in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center with USA Swimming. As these athletes, especially here from Team Santa Monica, eyeing the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games and everything setting up in preparation for that contest. Would be a monumental task here if he was able to continue this trajectory and take down Florian Wellbrock. four-time recent 10K open water world champion, including the 2019 Worlds in Gwangju, 2023 Fukuoka, 2025 Singapore. In Singapore, taking the open water swimmer of the meet, also winning the 5K and the 3K knockout sprint event. And just last week, August 4th, not even a week ago, Wellbrock taking the 2026 European Championships in the 10K as well as the 5K. That was contested in the Seine River, same place as the Paris Olympic Games. Wellbrock was the 8th place finisher at the Paris 10K open water contest. And it looks like Puskovich continuing to lead the way as they get through turn 2 on lap 4. And Bryce, it would appear as though Sloman of Australia in second with that yellow cap. Is that right? Am I seeing things right there?
Coming through the long stretch here, lap number 4, making that 733-meter stretch, going back down towards the bridge. Ivan Puskovich taking over the lead, followed by Nick Sloman in second, and Wellbrock has dropped back in third. Curious to know if this is intentional on Wellbrock's plan, if he's sitting back a little bit just to let somebody else take the lead before he makes his final turn. A lot of racing travel that has taken place in the last 7 days or so for Florian Wellbrock. But again, Ivan Puskovich taking the lead, while Florian Wellbrock has taken the inside of the course and pulling around Delgado with him as that rounds up the top 5.
Al Pittman.
Looking back at the previous iteration of the Pan Pacific Swimming Championships in 2018 at Hojo Beach in Tokyo, that race won by another Team Santa Monica athlete. That was Jordan Vilimovsky of the United States at 1 hour 58 minutes, ahead of Eric Hedlund of Canada, and then Nicholas Sloman, Australia, the bronze medalist in 2018, here in contention for a medal as well in 2026. Well, Bryce, now it looks like we've got two lines of swimmers side by side, Wellbrock and Puskovich out in front.
Quick update here from the boat. Wellbrock temporarily gave up that lead, but took it back on this new stretch, followed by Puskovich, Delgado, and Sloman, Malecki, and Pitt. Then Liney there, Moreno, Joey Tepper, and then Dario Barani, so in right side by side with Tepper. And then the next row back, we have Giordano, and then Gradley to round out the top 10.
Yes, I remember.
$15 or so swimmers still connected to this lead group as they're making their way to buoy number 3 here on lap number 4. This could be an opportunity for Florian Wellbrock coming up here, so we want to pay close attention here. Florian already has a few meters of a lead on the group behind him, so we'll see if this is the time where he decides to go and make a move. It's sometimes easier to disguise your move when you're trying to make that kind of big burst of speed than to disguise it around a buoy turn, because by the time the pack behind you recognizes what happened, the separation's already there, and sometimes when you get that big separation, it's really hard to overcome that separation, especially when you're swimming in contact with everybody else around you. So we'll see what Florian Wellbrock decides to do as he goes around this buoy turn. He decides to disguise a little move here coming through buoy number 3 right now. Get through nice and smooth. Again, a little bit of a pickup of a tempo, nothing extreme, but the group behind him recognized that that was an opportunity that Florian could have used. So the group behind him really took off, coming around that buoy turn, making sure they kept in contact with Florian, who can be very dangerous in this, with how much speed he has. He could really just drop the hammer down on this group and put that separation whenever he decides to. So the group recognizing that Florian is someone that you want to make sure you stay on his heels as much as you can as you go through this race. As they're making their way down here to buoy number 4, coming through the last little bit of lap number 4. We'll see what kind of line they take coming off this buoy turn to set themselves up for a potential feed coming down 400 or so meters after this buoy turn. Florian Wellbrock still leading the charge. Delgado right behind. Malecki swimming side by side with Puskovich, followed by Sloman, followed by Moreno, who's on the inside. Wellbrock coming around. There he goes. Shuts down the stroke. Great right there. Nice and smooth. Really, again, swimming these turns pretty aggressively like the rest of the group, but then he gets to these long stretches, controls the tempo, drops the stroke rate, really relaxes things as he gets through it, and really just trying to, in many ways, make the group behind him work extra hard just to keep up with him, really.
Well, thanks for the details there, Bryce. Obviously, a pretty expert level of execution here from the world champ, Florian Wellbrock of Germany. Really knows how to utilize these turns to his advantage. He's been working with his head coach, Bernd Bergkamp, in Magdeburg, the training group there in Germany, one of the finest assembled. They've produced a lot of great success in open water and pool racing as well. Feldbrock joined by German national Lucas Mertens, an Olympic champ in the 400, of course, an Olympic champ in the women's 10K, Sharon van Roendal, also training in Magdeburg, together with Australian competitor Moesha Johnson. We'll see her in the women's race today. Oliver Clement, Isabel Gosa, Sarah Kohler. List goes on for the high-level athletes coming out of Magdeburg training group, led now by Florian Welbrock. As we see some athletes here staying to the inside, this is lap number 4 coming to a close. Potentially a final feeding opportunity. I don't know that we would expect to see many feeds following lap 5, but it does appear a couple athletes there hanging to the interior of the course, maybe bypassing a feed. Bryce, if you could give us an update on who's on the inside.
All right, about 200 meters away from this feed station. Florian Welbrock on the outside of the course, looking like he's lining up for a feed here. Sloman on the inside, of course, maybe skipping it. Got to remember, Sloman took that feed on lap number 2, which is teammate Liney. But the rest of the group did not. So Sloman might already have that feed in the gas tank ready to go. Maybe Sloman takes advantage of this here and uses it as an opportunity to kind of pull ahead, maybe break up the group, and maybe make it, a race of 5, split up this group of 15 and kind of narrow it down. So we'll see what happens here coming into the feed. But again, Florian Welbrock looking like he is taking a group of swimmers with him into this feed. That includes Pushkovich, Moreno, Delgado following right behind. Really just Lohman and Malecki looking like they are skipping this feed potentially, unless they decide to veer and make a last-minute decision to come back in.
So that's Sloman of Australia, number 2. Malecki of Brazil, number 5. Currently on the inside of the course, although it looks like they're maybe making a change and heading towards the feed station here at the conclusion of lap 4.
Still an opportunity to go to feed if he wants to. He just needs to kind of deviate by about a meter or so and come in. Looks like he's going to grab it. Grabs it, taking it down, staying in the lead. Malecki coming through the feed. Kind of swam up against the feed station, but decided to not take a feed at all. Just continues. Welbrock now put in the 4th place. Delgado. A little bit of separation here. 2 swimmers in the front, and then a good 5-meter gap between 3rd and 4th. That feed has a tendency to break up the group sometimes. Some swimmers take a little longer feed, a lot of collision, and a lot of physicality that goes in and out of these feeds. So that has a tendency to separate the swimmers. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the last feed that they'll take. There's only about 40 minutes left in this race. So not too much left that they need to feed. By the time that actual sustenance hits their body, the race might be over. So some might elect to skip the rest of the feed for the rest of this race as they're going through it.
Well, whatever lead there was has evaporated as we see Wellbrock now pushing up the join Sloman and Malecki together in that lead trio now.
Coming into buoy number 1 on lap number 5 here at Wellbrock, with Malecki going into that first buoy turn, side by side, both going through. Again, not too much physicality going in and out of these buoy turns. Pretty calm race here so far. I don't want to jinx it, but the officials haven't had it blowing too many whistles so far, if at all. No yellow flags, so no infractions really taking place. Pretty clean race, some incidental contact that they're going through, but nothing major. Pretty calm environment. You'll get that in some of these venues like this where we have calm water temperature is 77 degrees, so calm water, pretty straightforward course. So between that and a field size of 25 swimmers, that really takes some of that physicality out of the equation. While in some other venues, if you're swimming in surf with a lot of buoy turns and lots of current, sometimes that throws the swimmers off their kind of navigational course and causes them to swim into one another. And sometimes open water swimmers can be magnetic to one another and start bumping into each other. And sometimes that takes an official to kind of blow a whistle, get the athletes to separate from one another. Because if they don't separate, then they'll just continue to butt heads for the race. So a lot of times the officials are trying to blow that whistle as a favor to the athletes to tell them to separate, so that way things don't kind of get nasty in a hurry. Making buoy turn number 2 here on lap number 5, making their way back down to the bridge, looking through, exploring, taking pretty sharp inside turn there, really pulling the group with them coming on the inside. Dived down underneath, moves back in. So he was right with Malecki there, swimming towards the inside of the course. I think he realized he was going in the wrong direction. Did a little dip under the water, floated down in the water and shifted directions. And he did it once again. That's an unusual little move there. I don't know if I've seen too much of that where he's throwing, it almost looks like he's intentionally trying to throw this group off the course because he's realizing that everybody's trying to follow him a little bit. So again, Malecki's going towards them. Let's see if he does it again. But he did 2 dips under the water and drastically changed his line that he had on the course. So now he's going back in on the inside of the course. Ivan Puskovich staying on the kind of more straight line of the course, pulling the rest of the group in with him, while Wellbrock and Malecki swimming just the 2 of them on the same side of, or towards the center of the course almost, while Puskovich is staying kind of straight, more kind of off the shorter line of the course, more efficient line, while Wellbrock is on the inside. Still about 15 swimmers in this lead group coming through, but two distinct groups here with Wellbrock and Molecular on the inside, and then the rest of the 13 or so swimmers staying on more center line or outside of the course. This is the time of the race where your training really starts kicking in, where you kind of have to dig down deep. There's a lot of training that goes into these races. If you're going to swim for 2 hours, you need to train at a high volume. So these swimmers are in the water well over 20 hours a week, some of which are swimming over 100,000 meters a week in training. A lot of training and preparation. It's not just about volume for these swimmers. Over the last couple of years, speed factor in open water has been critical. So they're also training their speed in addition to their endurance and capacity that they have. And some of the swimmers are doing heavy altitude camps. So the U.S. team, for example, was in Colorado Springs training at altitude, using the altitude advantages that they had there. And then they came back down here to Southern California to merge with the rest of the pool team that's competing later this week and completed their kind of final preparations here in the Southern California area. The Australians also did an altitude camp a couple weeks ago, and then were based in San Diego with their pool team. And spent some time down there doing their final preparations. So again, a lot of altitude training. I know the Italians, for example, like to do a lot of altitude training, and it's really helpful for these endurance athletes that they're make the training environment a little harder, and then they can come back down from altitude and get the instant benefits from being in a harder training environment.
Well, we saw Velbrock and Malecki taking that inside track, and Paskovich of the United States on the outside appeared to have a mild advantage there for maybe about 200 meters, but the lines have united once again, and it appears as though number 9, Florian Wellbrock of Germany, has resumed control of this race.
Yeah. On the inside. Is that green? No, it's a yellow and green. I think it's mixed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just stay aware.
Approaching buoy, turn number 3 here on lap number 5. Bulldog still in the lead. Nick Lohman taking the inside of the course, looking right by. Staying right on the heels of Florian Bulldog. Once again, he's picking up the speed as well. Behind that group, we have Milesi from Brazil, followed by Delgado from Mexico. Ronnie from Italy making his move up, followed by Moreno. And then Kato Fujimura starting to move up. Been sitting back a little bit of this race. Really haven't seen him break into the top 10, so he's moving on up, as is Dylan Gravely, trying to inch their way into that top 10. So the top 10 really kind of shaking up. Joey Tepper sitting right there, followed by Giordano to round that out. Moving their way to buoy turn number 4 again. They might take a little bit more of a narrow approach here with most skipping the B station. This could be an opportunity for, again, any opportunity this late in the race where they can kind of take advantage of these buoy turns, disguise any movement, break some things off here, maybe make it a little bit easier race, much easier race with 5 swimmers compared to 15 swimmers. So maybe somebody will make moves and pick it up. But right now, Florian Goldrock really just looking like he's in command, really controlling his stroke pace. So even when he's not leading, it's almost looking like he's not leading by design to conserve his stroke there. Slowly taking that inside of the course, really probably now in first place ahead of Goldrock as they're making their way down the far stretch towards the B station.
All right, so the final turn of lap 5 has been completed. We'll have one more opportunity to see these athletes swim by the shore before they get to their 6th and final lap, and on the next opportunity be entering the finishing chute.
I certainly do not.
Goldrock still with that relaxed, smooth stroke rate, in control, not looking rushed at all. You know, he's got the speed to turn it on at any point in this race.
Coming to the conclusion here of lap number 5. We have Sloman on the inside of the course, Wellbrock on the outside of the course. So head to head, there's about 5 meters of separation between those two swimmers. Puskovich sitting on the heels of Sloman. Gatto on the heels of Wellbrock. Right behind them, we have Ronnie from Italy, who's been really hanging back this entire race. I haven't seen much of him. And then Tsujimura from Japan right next to them. So both those swimmers have really hung back in the first half of this race and now starting to make their move into the top 5. Really weren't even in the top 10 for the most part of the race, but now making their way into the top 5 with Dylan Gravely also right there in that same row. Things getting a little spread out here. Looking like nobody's going to come in to feed. Everybody's going to bypass the feed again. Only 20 minutes left of this race. So things are going to come to an end here pretty soon. So nobody really wants to take themselves out of an alignment there to get the feed. They want to stay in the course, be efficient. Really don't want to give up anything. So coming in for a feed doesn't make a lot of sense right now. So everybody's skipping it, taking different lines. They spread out, going through the feed station, but then now kind of coming back in together in that triangular formation that you often see these packs form.
So as we get into the 6th and final lap, it'll be interesting here as you've got some veterans in the field with Varani of Italy and Minamide of Japan, the 2-time Olympian, waiting until this 6th and final lap to make their move into the top 5 now. The race is certainly on to decide the medalists here in race number 1 of the Pan Pacific Swimming Championships of 2026.
Coming through buoy number 1. Oh, sorry, no. All right, making their way down, going towards buoy number 1. Again, less than 20 minutes, probably less than 18 minutes left of this race. So really in the final stretch here. Pace picking up, their tempos are all picking up. Everybody's trying to maintain contact with the lead group as they're moving their way through. Wellbrock still leading. Right next to him, Sloman, Delgado, and Puskovich. And then a little bit of a separation there from that top 4 to the rest of the group here. So a little bit of separation, a little bit of physicality too in that next row of swimmers. Dylan Gravely from the United States trying to make it through that mix. But he's in a pretty bad spot right now as swimmers kind of all pinching together. Okay, he left that spot, moved to the inside of the course to kind of get away from that physicality. But still that separation, not much. Still easy to overcome. Tsujimura is doing his best to kind of overcome that, get into that slipstream and draft his way back into that group and hopefully pull some swimmers in with him, so maintaining the contact with that group.
Mantente, vas bien, mantente, mantente. ¡Ciérrale! ¡Ciérrale! ¡Ciérrale!
Battle certainly developing now within the top 10 as Wellbrock has opened up a body length advantage. Gets through turn 2 with clean efficiency. Sloman second. And Paskovich looks to have third position currently as we get to the straightaway on the sixth and final lap. The back straightaway, 730 plus meters.
Coming around buoy number 2, Wellbrock still staying in the lead, followed by Sloman, Puskovich, and Delgado. Gravely's trying to inch his way back up with Verani as well, trying to keep that contact with Wellbrock. About 1,000 meters or so, 1,100 meters left of this race, so really in the final stretch here. This thing will be all tied up here in about 15 minutes. Less than 15 minutes as they're making their way through. You're going to see the swimmers here now who have been conserving their legs for the entire race really start picking up their kick, start trying to accelerate as much as possible. This is really where they're trying to empty that gas tank as they've been conserving throughout the first half of the race. This is really where they start trying to make sure they have as much speed as possible, trying to time it as much as possible. Wellbrock sitting there, again, being in control. I feel like he's controlled about 90+% of this race. When he hasn't been leading, he's been kind of sitting back intentionally, playing some tricks with the field on the last time around coming through this stretch. Looks like those tricks are done as he's making his way through. We're going towards the bridge, picking a very straight line and just trying to outwork the field. But again, still staying calm. His stroke rate, kick has increased a little bit more, but I think he's still got a little bit left that he could push in. And Delgado taking more of an inside approach, while Ivan, who's always, I feel like Ivan Puskovich in the United States has always kind of stayed in that top 3, top 4 spot, so he's been doing a great job of staying right where he needs to stay. And then behind Delgado, sitting in 6th place, Verani, and then Tujimura from Japan, Dylan Gravely, and right next to him. Both have been sitting there. Both Gravely and Tujimura have been kind of hanging back for a lot of this race, so they might have that energy to kind of move up and make things a little interesting as they've conserved a little bit more in the first half of the race. Again, still Florian Wellbrock commanding the lead of this group, followed by Nick Sloman in 2nd place.
But you're okay.
Coming up on the midway point of this last long 733-meter stretch, still Wellbrock in first, Sloman in second, and then Irani from the POW, Italy, swimming right side by side, Delgado from Mexico. And then the next row back, Ivan Puskovich, he's dropped back a few places in that last 200 meters or so, swimming side by side with Dylan Bravely.
Yellow box. Well, you know, reposition.
Florian Wellbrock wearing number 9 for Germany. Tokyo Olympic champ. So consistent, so smooth out in front. When we see the speed change, typically it's from the legs of Wellbrock. Sloman positioned himself here for a medal, looking to be in good position. He'll have to hold off the late charge here from Puskovich, Delgado, Moreno of Brazil.
Go. I'm not going to run out.
All right, coming into buoy number 3 on the final lap. About 400 or so meters left in this race. Florian Wellbrock still commanding that lead. Nick Sloman right behind. Florian just kicked up the kick a little bit. Really trying to make a separation here. He's always used these little turns to get some separation or pick up his tempo, but now putting a little bit of distance behind Sloman. And then there's probably about a 5-meter gap between Sloman and Delgado and Verani from Italy, followed by Gravely and Puskovich back there. Going into buoy number 4, where they'll have their straight shot into the finish chute. So it's really important here because they're trying to get a good line coming right off this buoy, picking the line coming right off the buoy, so that way it's as efficient as possible going into that final stretch into the finish pontoon. Finish pontoon's about 350 meters or so away from this last buoy turn. They'll have to go navigate their way towards that pontoon, which is identified by 2 yellow buoys with lane ropes. They have to go through the finish chute as they make their way through and get their hand up on that pad as they're making their way. Florian Wellbrock now has probably about a 3-meter lead on Nick Sloman. And then we've got a group, we've got a lot of whitewater coming behind Sloman. The fight for third place is on. We'll see if someone can overtake Sloman right now, but Florian Wellbrock really stayed in a commanding lead. A couple meters lead over Sloman as Florian's working his way towards that finish chute to finish off his 10-kilometer race at the Pan Pacific Championship.
Here we go, final stretch with less than about 300 meters of racing remaining. Gold looks all but secured for Florian Wellbrock. The race will be on to decide the minor medals and the remaining top 10 finishers.
Sloman has dropped back now, and Delgado from Mexico making a push. Really, he's almost closing the gap here on Florian Wellbrock, and I don't know if Florian is aware that Delgado's coming in hot right behind him, really kicked up his tempo and making some separation. And then you have Verani from Italy now in 3rd place, trying to close that gap on Delgado, who's making a move. But we have Florian Wellbrock, Olympic champion up here from the Tokyo Olympic Games, followed by Delgado from Mexico, and then a little bit of a 3 to 4 meters separation between Verani from Italy and Nick Sloman. And behind them, we have 2 Americans with Ivan Puskovich and Dylan Gravely as they're making about 150 meters to go or so, and Florian Wellbrock still holding the lead. Delgado's move to try to catch Florian. He kind of ran out of a little bit of juice. Florian Wellbrock, I think, saw him come in and put a little bit more speed on, but Delgado still has a solid now 10-meter lead or so from the 3rd and 4th place swimmers. Sloman and Verani going head-to-head, fight for that 3rd place spot. Puskovich sitting right now in 5th place, with Josh Brown coming on the inside of the course, passing Puskovich for 5th place. But again, it is Florian Wellbrock with a commanding lead going into the final 100 meters or so. Now putting on a good 3-4 meters behind Delgado. And then another 10 meters behind him, we have Verani moving into that 3rd place position, dropping Sloman now. Josh Brown now coming through, potentially going to pass Sloman as well. Wellbrock has now kicked up the kick. He's firing on all cylinders. He's moving through, putting in that additional separation on Delgado. He's keeping his head down. Tempo's up. Coming through to put on a textbook race here at the Pan Pacific Championship. Really led this race for 90+% of it. Controlled the race just as he does, with his nice smooth strokes and such easy tempo, and then when he needed to kick it up, he did that, and he saved it for the end. So we have Wellbrock, the Pan Pacific champion from Germany, followed by Delgado from Mexico, and Verani looking like he'll get his hand on the board for 3rd place. And then we have Josh Brown coming in for 4th place, followed by Puskovich and Joey Tepper.
All right, coaches, fans, athletes, spectators, we appears to be on schedule or nearly on schedule for the start of the women's 10K. We do have a pre-race briefing scheduled for 12:15. That is 6 minutes away. Once again, pre-race briefing for the women's 10K scheduled for 12:15. We'll alert you to any changes in that. All right, so an update on the timing for the women's 10K. We will push things back 10 minutes. 12:25 pre-race briefing, 12:40 race start. Again, 10 minutes push back. Pre-race briefing for the women's 10K, that'll be at 12:25. That's 15 minutes away. 12:40 the race start time, 30 minutes away from the women's 10K.